Breaking news. A federal judge has just issued a ruling that effectively paralyzes Donald Trump's $2 billion business empire. This isn't a temporary hold. This isn't a delay tactic. This is a total asset freeze until financial transparency is proven. I'm David Sterling. Today we are breaking down the 47-page ruling that exposes a 20-year pattern of fraud and explaining why this decision creates a shockwave not just for Trump, but for the entire U.S. banking system. We have a lot to cover, so let's get straight to the developments that matter most. To understand why this ruling is historic, we have to look at the numbers. Judge Catherine Polk. Fayela's ruling documents what prosecutors are calling a systematic machine of deception. The core issue is simple. Trump allegedly kept two sets of books, one set for the banks to show he was rich, and one set for the tax authorities to show he was struggling. Take the Trump Tower Penthouse. To secure massive loans from banks, financial statements claimed the residence was 30,000 square feet, valuing it at over $327 million. But the reality, the property is barely 11,000 square feet. He allegedly tripled the size on paper to triple the loan value. Then look at the Seven Springs estate. When seeking loans, it was valued at $291 million. But on tax documents, it was valued at just $30 million. That is a tenfold difference depending on who was asking. The judge made it clear. This wasn't sloppy bookkeeping. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate strategy to defraud institutions. But here is the part that should worry every investor watching this channel. The most damning evidence didn't come from political rivals. It came from inside the house. Trump's longtime accounting firm, Mazars USA, formally cut ties with him. They publicly stated they could no longer support 10 years of his financial statements. In the corporate world, when your own accountants fire you and disown your records, that is the ultimate red flag. Why does this matter? Because banks like Deutsche Bank lent hundreds of millions based on those disowned statements. If the collateral for those loans was fake, the risk models used by these banks were fundamentally broken. This ruling freezes everything. Trump cannot sell properties to raise cash. He cannot transfer assets to his children to hide them. He cannot use these buildings to secure new loans. His business engine has been completely shut off. Now, you might be thinking, David, why does a billionaire's legal trouble affect me? It affects you because the American financial system runs on trust. When you apply for a mortgage, the bank trusts that your income statement is real. If you lie to get a bigger house, that is bank fraud, and you go to prison. If wealthy developers are allowed to fabricate billions in value to get lower interest rates, they are effectively stealing from the pot. Banks have to price that risk in. When fraud goes unpunished, the cost of borrowing goes up for everyone else. If this ruling stands, it sends a message to Wall Street. The days of creative accounting are over. But if this ruling is overturned due to political pressure, it signals that the U.S. financial system is rigged for the powerful. That uncertainty creates risk for every single retirement account and investment portfolio in the country. Politically, this is a disaster for the 2024 campaign. We are 13 months from an election. Campaigns burn through cash like fire. Usually, a candidate like Trump would sell a property or take out a loan to fund his defense and his rallies. He can no longer do that. The freeze prevents him from accessing the liquidity he needs. Even Republicans are quietly distancing themselves. As former Speaker Kevin McCarthy hinted, the party wants to focus on governing, not defending business practices that a federal judge has labeled as fraud. Independent voters, the people who decide elections, are watching closely. They may tolerate political controversy, but financial fraud is a much harder pill to swallow. This is no longer just a legal battle. It is a stress test for the American rule of law. Can the system hold a powerful figure accountable, or will political pressure break the courts? The answer to that question will determine the future of the U.S. economy. We will be tracking every appeal and every asset movement right here. For deep dive analysis you won't find on cable news, make sure you are subscribed. I'm David Sterling. Thank you for watching.